Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's show. I was off last week, actually. I dared take a little vacation time last week with the family. But today I'm excited to have Stephen Burkhart of Burkhart Creative Agency. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing very good. I took a little vacation myself last week and went up to Payson, so.
Nice. Escape the heat. Stephen and I are both here in the Phoenix area, so we both tried to escape the heat last week, I think.
Yes, and it worked.
Yeah, it was nice to get away from the heat. I think we hit 112 last week, so.
Crazy.
So a little backstory quickly. Stephen actually found me through, I think, a local coffee shop's Instagram story, and then asked me to be on his show some time back, which I'm sorry, I don't know that I've ever shared that here on my Facebook page. So I need to share that interview. We had a great time.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome.
And so then I realized, I was like, wait a second, Stephen's target audience, and Stephen works with small businesses just like I do. So why have I not had him on the show yet? So thank you again for taking the time.
Well, I'm very happy to be on here, and thank you so much for asking. It's definitely a pleasure to return the favor, so to speak,
yes.
Be able to be on your show. So.
Thank you. Well, so I'm going to go ahead and share this live stream a few places in Facebook. While I do that, would you mind kind of just introducing yourself and your business so people know who you are?
Sure. So my name is Stephen Burkhart with Burkhart Creative Agency. It's my company, and basically my history is really video more in the wedding space. And as I was, just learning and growing, just because of the fact that I have different, podcasts and stuff that I listen to, I just got to see more and more the opportunity in businesses to be able to create content. It's hard to go online and look at statistics about like how engaging video is online and how many people are looking to see more video and how many people want businesses to make video to learn about their products, to not see the opportunity there. Both as a person creating it and as a business who wants to get their stuff in front of people and have it be effective. So I just saw a lot of opportunity there, and I enjoyed doing video. And so, yeah, just started making the transition into making video for small business and being able to educate small business owners who maybe aren't at the point yet to hire an individual or an agency to run their content. I've made some education material to be able to teach them how to do it with their phone in a way that's affordable and easy, because, I touch a camera every single day, but most people just aren't going to have that technical expertise or don't have the time to try to learn it. So I wanted to be able to make it simple for them. And so that's kind of where the path that we're on now, and really just trying to help businesses get on their feet and get moving and scale. And certainly now that we're in kind of like a hopefully post-COVID life and stuff like that, there's a lot of businesses that have to play a lot of catch-up because they've been shut down for the last 2 months.
Right. And whatever was pre-COVID, people's habits have changed, and people are spending more time online, and people are consuming more content, especially video, and that's probably not going to change. All the experts are saying that this is kind of a new, moving forward, these habits are now kind of instilled. And I want to say quickly, I know I've seen some of your research, and for most business owners, they go, oh, I don't have any equipment. Oh, I don't have time. I was like, nope, pick up your phone and just start recording, right? So
that's true.
I'll share that. I think you have a landing page for that free guide you have. Maybe you can drop that in the comments.
I actually just made it. At one point I had it like password protected, and I just ended up changing that. So yeah, it's an open page on my website that people can check out.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, so for, a lot of people in my audience may not really understand the strategy behind or the concept of content marketing in general, or maybe they know they have to put videos on social media, but can you kind of give us an overview of what content marketing for small businesses is about and why it's important?
100%. So I think the first thing that's important to understand out the gate is that like content marketing isn't ads. Like ads are made of content, but content marketing as like an approach and as a strategy is not like directly tied to having an ad that creates a sale. Now, the idea is that everything that you make does eventually lead to a sale, excuse me, but it is not an ad. Content marketing is a strategy put in place where you make things that people have a chance to engage with. And so for me, I've always looked at like business and relationships to me are just so similar, right? And so like you don't walk up to someone and say, "Be my friend," right? Like that'd be weird because they're like, "I don't know you. I don't know anything about you." As selfless as people would like to think that they are, like obviously there's a give and take where like you offer something to the relationship and they offer something to you, and so the same principles really apply to a business. You know, if someone wants to do business with someone, they want to do business with someone they trust, someone they know, someone that maybe shares some of the values that they have. And without content to be able to explain that to a potential customer, how do they know what you stand for? And so content is a great way to be able to story tell about your business, about your business's values, about what you care about, to be able to demonstrate your service, and being able to basically have like all the pieces to like be the introduction and the get to know me phase that we would have as a human to human or interaction we have with a business, where they have a chance to learn about you and develop a relationship with your business in kind of a, you know, hands-off approach, I guess.
Right.
Because most people are doing a ton of research online before they do business with anyone anyways. And so they're doing that online. And if you're going to have your content out there and someone else doesn't, your competitor, the chances of you getting that business is just so much higher. And so like we talked about before, it's not directly a sales engine, but it is one of the means in which you can drive sales to your business.
Absolutely. And, you know, honestly, that I've read a lot and listened to a lot and watched a lot about content marketing. And I don't know if I've ever heard anybody relate it quite so well, like to real life, right? Like you don't walk up to somebody and say, "Be my friend." And I mean, I know I've heard people say it in similar ways, but I love that clip. I'm going to like cut that clip and share that in my class for my college students, because it's, you know, it's true. Like it's a chance. And for business owners, I hope they hear that. This is the way that potential customers can learn about you, right? I mean, I was thinking as you're talking about it, I'm like, how many times have I gone to check out a business's Facebook or Instagram page that I'm maybe considering giving my money to, and then I have no content. I'm like, and next. Like, I mean, it's just how we do research now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I remember back, I wouldn't say like at the birth of Instagram, but earlier in Instagram, I remember like for me as a consumer, my reality was this, that I would go on someone's website to find out if they're professional, but I would go on their Instagram to find out if they were cool.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, maybe that's shallow, but the reality is Instagram was a way for me to get a sense and a feel for who they were, either as an individual or as a person. And then, of course, the website for me was like the part where I was like, do they have their crap together? Like, I know they're cool,
but credibility thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I know that those kinds of things are always going to shift as new platforms come out and as, you know, technology develops and just people are different. But I mean, I think it's no surprise to anyone who's done the research about like Gen Z and some of those things that they're very much like purpose-driven, value-driven people. And so to be able to have that content you can put out there to show what you care about and what you represent is huge.
And, you know, not just social media, but I mean, even having like, if you have no budget for professional like videography, but if you like, if you have, you know, a small, tiny budget that you can find and eke out to get like that one professionally done video for your website, right? Like kind of like an introductory or like your pitch video or something that can be really powerful. That's another. So people that do go to the website, they're checking for credibility, for professionalism, right? If that's the one place that you maybe do have that, you know, that they hire somebody like you and use the, you know, use that budget to get something professional. I think that's really important. And content marketing is not just social media. It goes on your website too, right?
Yeah, literally anything your eyeballs see or your ears hear is content marketing.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. And it's so funny because we're actually in the midst of creating that landing page video for ourselves, just because, you know, we've been really spending a lot of time like discovering like who we are as a company, because you can't really make a video talking about who you are if you don't know who you are. And so I really feel like we're in a solid place where we've discovered who that is and who we are and what our target market is. And so we're in actually the process of that, because of a couple of the stats that I looked at, it was like 60% higher conversions potentially for a landing page that has a video.
Wow.
And so, you know what I mean? Like all you got to do is do your own math for your website traffic. You know, if you get 100 people a month and you get, 2% conversion rate, and then that we get 60% higher, and that ends up being like 2 or 3%. You know what I mean? That's awesome. That could be, hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the industry you're in.
Right. Yeah. And anything you can do to increase conversions is huge, because once you get the eyeballs there, you want them to convert. And
Oh, yeah.
I could go all day on the statistics. I teach an entire class in on video marketing and why it's so important. So, I mean, the statistics are trending upwards in every positive way towards video marketing and content marketing. But
100%.
So since you do work with small businesses on this, what are kind of some of the struggles you see as to either why small businesses just aren't really doing content marketing, or if they are doing it, why they're maybe not doing a good job with it?
Well, I think it's one of those things, and I can't say I blame anyone for this. When we first talked about like what content market is or not, it's not an ad. So I think for a lot of people, it's like, how do I justify the spend of doing this when there's not like an immediate return on investment? Yeah. And I really think that's a lot of the mistake that comes with a lot of marketing. Is most things in marketing is not an immediate return on investment. And I think people, you can tell that people are in the mindset that should be possible by the way that they buy Facebook ads and they get mad that they don't work.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, it just takes a long time to figure these things out, and it takes a lot of time to optimize. And same thing with your content marketing strategy. Is it's going to take a long time for you to be able to create like the amount of content that requires to get out in the market and be found. I mean, the reality is like everybody's producing content. Right. So if you post like a video and think that like somehow that's going to change everything, you're in for a real surprise. And so I think, it's just commitment. It's commitment. For content marketing to work for small businesses, you have to be committed to doing it long term. And I think that's scary for a lot of small business owners. And I understand that. It's totally scary to have money go out or effort go out and not know when that's going to come back. And so I think that's where a lot of small business owners are, is they don't realize that it will pay off eventually, and just being willing to be patient for that to happen. And so I think that is one thing. And so the other thing, as far as people who are doing it, I think the other kind of struggle the business owners have is kind of like going the professional route or the authentic route. And those are sometimes different things, and sometimes they're the same thing. So sometimes I think people think professional videos can't be authentic, and other times people think that like authentic videos. I don't know. I'm getting myself tied up.
No, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, and that they think they have to be like not too professionally produced so that they can feel real and and have that authenticity. But at the same time, they're worried that if it's too unprofessional, people won't take them seriously. Yeah. And I put this comment up here. This is actually a good friend of mine, Stacy. Stacy's also a marketer, long time marketer. And I love his point that content for content's sake is bad. Content with purpose is good, right? And that is true. That's a lot of small businesses. I'm sure you and I both have seen this, is they just put, like you said, they put up a video and they think, oh, that's it, I'm done, right? Right. And there has to be some sort of strategy. There has to be 100%. A purpose behind it. And that's why you said like that long-term commitment. It's if you have a long-term commitment, that means you take the time to put together a plan and a strategy. Like you were talking about, like you didn't want to put a video on your website about the story of your agency because you weren't quite sure what that story was yet, right? So you could have just thrown up a video and say, hey, we're a video company, we should have a video up there. Right. But if they had no purpose behind it, it might do you more harm than good. So it kind of goes right along with that.
It's true. And I think you bring up a good point to kind of come back to that, is that I think a lot of times people put pressure on the wrong things at the wrong times. And so I think sometimes a business is starting up and they feel all this pressure to have content marketing. But like you said, it has to have a purpose, right? Or Stacy said it has to have a purpose. And so I think sometimes people are in such a hurry to get to the content that they forget to take the time to discover who they are or what their business stands for in the meantime, in which case how do you put together a strategy, and what kind of content do you make if you don't know what your business is all about? And so I think sometimes people try to hurry that along too much and get right to the content. And they should actually kind of take their time to discover what they're about first. And then I think that actually makes all your content more effective because it comes from a good place.
Yeah, and that's Allison and I were actually just recording a podcast the other day, my business partner for Creating You, and we were talking about like doing a mid-year check-in, because obviously 2020 has been a wild ride. And so whatever, if you did have a plan and strategy at the beginning of 2020, if you haven't adjusted it by now, you should be. But what we were talking about is it all comes back to looking at what is your vision statement and your mission statement for your brand, right? And if you don't have those, then you better start with that. But everything that you're doing with your branding and with your content marketing should all tie back to your mission statement and your vision statement. And that's going to help you have a more cohesive strategy too. So.
I absolutely agree. You gotta start there. Yeah. That's like the foundation.
Yeah. So if somebody's watching or listening right now and they really haven't done much with content marketing, or they haven't had a plan, can you kind of just give them a little tip on how to get started?
Well, yeah, I think like we mentioned before, I think the first step is to not make any excuses about not making it. And so we have, we've got a phone, and so we've got the chance to shoot audio. We've got a chance to do video. Certainly we are doing video right now, but it's not very technical, right? We're doing like a live stream. Like I didn't have to know how to use like an advanced camera and drop $3,000 and do all these things. Like here we are making video content. And so I just think that maybe just go through, I kind of hesitate to say this because I feel like sometimes people look for people in their own industry and it makes it hard for them to think outside the box. But it wouldn't hurt to start with someone in your own industry and just like look around and see like what kind of content is catching your eye as far as what people are making. What I mean by that is like, is podcast working? Is YouTubing working? Is spending most of your time on Instagram working? You've mentioned before, and I think it's super smart, Facebook groups. If you're on Facebook and you're not doing Facebook groups, you're kind of crazy. I'm not really on Facebook very much. But if I were, I'd have to be doing groups because that's like where the community is. And just really understanding where people in your industry are finding success at, and then starting to figure that out a little bit. And so if it's doing a podcast, then maybe start doing a little research and pull out your phone and start shooting yourself with like a little tiny phone tripod and put it out there. If it's mostly blogging, well then, get to typing. You know what I mean? That's content too. It doesn't have to be visual content. Writing blogs is content as well. And if that ends up being what works, just go for it. You know what I mean? And so not everything has to be video. I know I'm a videographer, but not everything has to be video. It really doesn't. And just really researching and understanding what's working best for your industry, I think is a great place to start, so that you can start figuring out what you need to hone in on.
And that's what I always say too. I love how you started the caveat of like, don't get boxed in by looking at people in the industry, but I think it's always a good idea to be inspired by and to learn from those in your industry that are doing it well, right? If you've been like pounding your head against the wall doing all these videos and you're not getting any results, but then you go and you see that everybody in your industry that's successful has a podcast. Well, maybe you should try a podcast, right? Like, and obviously normally it's not that black or white, but the point is you can absolutely learn from those who are doing well in your industry. So, but yeah, you don't want to get boxed in by that. It's okay to try new things and test things out too. That's the beauty of content marketing, is you can test so easily. Like, oh, well, I'm going to do a live video. I'm going to do once a week live video and see how that works. And oh, that worked pretty well. Okay. Like, and no, you know what? That didn't work. Maybe I need to do a little bit more like pre-thought out videos and do like a YouTube channel or something like that. So
100%. And I think that just giving yourself enough time to figure out if it's going to work. You know what I mean? You don't want to do a live stream for 3 weeks, and if it doesn't work, you give it up. Like 3 weeks is not enough time to get traction on anything.
No.
And so I remember the one thing that always comes to mind is Gary Vaynerchuk is one of the people I listen to a lot, and he talked about how like the first like year that he did YouTube videos, he got like 5 views a video. And then now he grew his wine business, well, technically his father's wine business, because of continuing on and saying like, I'm not going to let the fact that my YouTube videos at 5 views stop me from continuing to do something that I know for sure is going to pay off. And it paid off in a big way, like millions of dollars kinds of way. And so, for maybe a year, it might be too long for some of you guys to accept as a
but he was way ahead of his time too. So when he started on YouTube, I mean, that was in the very early days of YouTube. So the audience wasn't there. I mean, I think obviously today people can see results sooner than a year, hopefully.
I would sure hope so. But I just think that's a good principle to live by, to say like, I'm going to give this enough time to decide if it's going to work, rather than hopping around. Because if you end up hopping around, ain't nothing going to work for you. Right.
Yeah, you got to, and that's one of the things too, is I usually recommend, if you're just starting out, kind of picking one platform, whether that be a podcast or a social media platform or your blog or whatever it is, but kind of picking one that you really focus the most on to start, maybe two. So like if you have a podcast, like for example, you said earlier, we're making content right now. Well, I also turn this into a podcast. So I just download the audio file right after. I add a quick intro, and that goes on my podcast, right? So you can multi-purpose your content there. But yeah, really, you can't. If you're starting out and you're a small business owner, you cannot be doing all the things all at once.
No, absolutely, you're totally right. Like, you're running your business, you know what I mean? And that's a lot of ways. That's why people hire people out, or whether they hire a full-time person or a person like me who has an agency. Like, you have to still be running your business, so you can't post on everything.
Right.
It's just not feasible. Yeah. Or if you are, it's because you're not running your business.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think why a lot of small business owners do get scared of content marketing and don't start, because they think, oh my gosh, I have to either do it all out and spend, hours every day making content, editing content, posting content, or I can't do it at all. And I think some is better than none, as long as you have a purpose and a plan and you're consistent, right?
100%. Well, it's just like, like for us, like we were just like the other day in our meeting for our company. Oops, sorry, my screen just went blank.
Oh, I can see
you. There we go. We had a meeting at our team the other day, just like going over what's happened so far this last year. And we've made like 38 videos for our company, just like promoting, whether it was like our podcast or whatnot. And it's crazy once you get a chance to look back and realize, like, okay, if I only make one video a week, or I only make one post a week, at the end of the year, you're going to have 52 posts. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Great. That's way better than like just being kind of in like an analysis paralysis of knowing what to do.
Yeah. Yep. Now, so speaking of your agency, and you were talking a little bit about how small business owners do sometimes hire out because they don't have the time.
Yeah.
If somebody has a little bit of budget and they're ready to start looking to hire help for their content marketing, kind of, what do you recommend they look for? How do they find somebody that they can trust and that does good work, that they want to work with?
Totally. People have a couple of different options. I mean, obviously you can hire someone part-time or full-time to work in your company, and I think that's awesome. I was talking to someone the other day who we're kind of in the process of working with, and I told them, if you hire someone in your own team, you have their 100% attention. You know what I mean? And that's awesome. And maybe that's what's best for you. But the advantage of hiring an agency is that you have multiple people, their ideas, their concepts, their experience. And so when I make a recommendation to someone, it isn't necessarily just on what I think is a good idea. It could be what the 3 other people on my team is also thinking it's a good idea, which is awesome, because like I live mostly on Instagram. Some of the other ones, they live mostly on like TikTok. So like we all bring like an understanding of the trends of what's happening to the table, which I think is huge. And I think another thing to think about too is that don't be intimidated by the idea of an agency. Not all of them are super expensive. There's, just like any other service, there's a variety. And so don't be afraid to like look into that a little bit and see if that's a viable option for your company. But I love it just because we're able to handle a lot of work. We're able to have a lot of influence and impact and experience to the table. So when people hire someone like us, they have a chance to have, like, I think, a little more well-rounded opinion on things. And the combined experience that we all have together is probably more than what someone would spend on a single person. Because most of the time when people hire out for social media, they're hiring someone who's like just got out of college for like, you know, $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year. And it's like, that person's bringing absolutely no experience to the table.
Right.
And they're not shooting video, you know, doing motion graphics. They're not doing all those other things that we can do.
Yeah.
So.
And I agree. That's, you know, all the time. That's why small business owners should look for other small businesses, you know, for these types of things they hire out, because you and I have a much different overhead than like the big agency down in downtown Phoenix that, you know, has 100 employees. So a small business owner with a limited budget, they maybe can't afford that agency, but they can afford something like you or I for whatever marketing help they need, right?
100%.
And then the other example I always love to come back to is that, you know, like, I love that you brought that up, the comparison of why you would want to hire outside versus somebody inside, or sometimes both. Verizon Wireless, okay, that I worked for their agency of record for their Western United States for a couple of years. And Verizon Wireless for just the Western United States. Now, they're one of the largest advertisers in the world. Just the Western United States, they had a marketing communications team internally of, I believe it was about almost 20 people, right? Wow. But then they also had us as their agency of record, and we were a satellite office just to serve the Western U.S. We had 45 people. So they had a team of almost 20 in-house, but they still hired a team of 45 other experts of all, you know, we had copywriters, art directors, you know, web developers, like everything, to manage everything, because even somebody with $1 billion advertising budget like Verizon Wireless with a huge internal team understands the value of getting those other experts who are outside of their company to work for them. So it's, you know, and that's on a much bigger scale, but it's the same principle that, you know, if you get that 23-year-old that might be a brilliant marketer in the making, they don't have the years of experience that your team has, you know, to do the same types of things.
Well, and I think that's like, I think maybe this is partially speculation, but it's not like the people internally in Verizon Wireless weren't capable of doing the job.
Right.
You know what I mean? So capacity is not necessarily the deciding factor. It's not like a small business owner can't post on Facebook. It's not like a small business owner can't run an ad.
Right.
It's do you are you able to spend the time to like ideas are valuable. You know what I mean? Like whoever came up with the polar bear for Coca-Cola is like, you know, he's doing pretty well, you know what I mean? Whoever it was. And so like that is like an iconic idea for Coca-Cola.
Right.
You know, is that idea valuable? 100%. Like, could anyone make a commercial for them? Absolutely. But that idea was valuable. And so I think that's another thing that goes into that, was like when it comes to creativity, when it comes to ideas, you know, obviously Verizon wanted to look outside of their company to be able to bring in other ideas and other creative things. Not because they couldn't physically capably expand to, you know, take care of those things, but because by hiring you guys, they got a different, fresh perspective on things, which I think is super great. And I know I've been guilty of this as a small business owner myself. You kind of get yourself in like a little bit of a bubble where it's like hard to have like a really objective view of yourself. And it's so, I mean, that's why people hire consultants. You know, it's really like a consultant type thing where like, they have someone else that could come in and view your problem or your direction you want to head with like a fresh set of eyes that can really see objectively what you need to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing with small business owners. We are normally so attached to our baby, right? And so that is, it is great to get that outside perspective to make sure that you're looking at it from the potential consumer or client's perspective and not just your own perspective. Because oftentimes you are not your target audience as the business owner, right? And most of the time, honestly. So it's helpful. And then, just also as a small business owner, it is important to focus on putting time and effort into where your zone of genius lies. Mm-hmm. And for most small business owners, that zone of genius is not content marketing necessarily.
100%. Like, they have, I mean, you said it. You said it perfectly. I don't need to say anything about it. That's 100% true. You got to focus on your zone of genius. And so our zone of genius is content marketing. And whoever working for it, like, we have no business telling them how to do their job. You know what I mean? Like, that's their zone of genius, and we just help them grow it, you know?
Yeah. Now, so we're kind of wrapping up here. I try to keep these under about half an hour, but I know you and I could talk about this all day because it's
Sure.
such an important topic. But if somebody was wanting to learn a little bit more about content marketing, especially video marketing, other than obviously your guide, which we'll happily share the link to,
Yeah.
do you have like a podcast or a book or a YouTube channel that you'd like to recommend?
I know. I saw that question earlier, and I was really racking my brain. I think a couple. I don't know if I have like one very specific thing. I will say if Gary Vaynerchuk is not a bad person to look at.
Yeah.
It just for me, it's all about like observation, and so observing what he's doing. Like, is he like not necessarily like what he's saying, right, in his content? Although you won't, it won't hurt to listen. But is he making vlogs? Is he doing cool time lapses of stuff that they're doing? Are they doing podcasts? Are they doing lots of pictures? Now he's doing all of it because he literally has like a dozen people on his team making content for him like 24/7.
Right.
But just see what they're doing. Like just observe and say like, okay, like if they did this and they switched to this, like they used to do daily V and now they're doing weekly V. So and they talk about that. The daily V and weekly V being like their vlog. For people who haven't seen it yet, they made a switch. Observe it, learn from it. You know what I mean, and see what they're doing. I know personally, one of my favorite podcasters is Ed Milet.
Oh, I love him. One of my favorites too.
He's fantastic, and I think he has something that all small business owners can really benefit from. Is that he is so great at the relational stuff. Like he is my guiding light when it comes to like having a good podcast. Because he's so kind, he's so genuine. He asks really great questions. He's really great at talking to the heart of a person, which I really admire and try to emulate as best I can. And so he is really a great person to listen to.
And he's the great story of anybody can make it happen if they work smart and they work hard, because he came from nothing, and now he's a multimillionaire, like crazy, and super successful, like just in all respects. It looks like.
And he's never, as best I can tell from everything that I've seen, it's all been super kosher. He's like never gotten his success in spite of someone else, or you know what I mean. Like it's all like he's just a genuine dude. And I think for me, I most of what I listen to is mostly like mindset stuff, and so he is definitely one of those. I think that for a book, I'd probably do Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. That'd probably be a good one because I think that's the one where he really goes through. I think that's the one. Maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the one where he goes through and like talks about how to like make content for each individual platform.
Yeah, so that's his much older one. That's that's from like 2012, I think, or something. But I actually use that as a textbook in my social media marketing college class, because the foundational principles in there are so solid. So I agree with that. So. And then obviously we'll share some links below, but what if people want to connect with you and learn more about your agency and what you do, where's the best place for them to do that?
So most things are just called Burkhart Creative Agency. So that's like our YouTube channel. That is our handle for our Instagram at Burkhart Creative Agency. And also on LinkedIn. So that's the main places I'm at. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So be sure to check those out. We have on our website, we've got resources, both blog style, video, audio, of everything. So a lot of our content that's out there kind of is the hub there. So if you want to listen to audio, you can listen to audio. If you want to read about it, you can read about it. So it's that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to share those links here in the comments, or you might even edit the description at least to your website or something. And hopefully people will find you and learn from you and maybe even hire you.
Well, yeah, no, that'd be awesome, and I thank you so much. Obviously, you're so experienced and so helpful, and you're so humble about it. You have so much experience, and so I really do thank you for having me on there. It's an honor, and so I just to raise the flag for you a little bit. Your content's really wonderful. Definitely, people should be listening to it because you have a really depth of knowledge that you're working from, and they have a lot to learn. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Such kind words. I really appreciate it. And I'm so thankful that you came on. I think this was very valuable. And I hope people really learned something today about the importance of content marketing.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Well, have a great day. Thank you everybody for listening.
All right. Thanks.